Hey Booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I am here today to talk to you about my recent reread of Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind, which won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction in 1937. Now, I guess maybe more than a review of this book, I just want to share with you my own experience of it. I am not here to tell you what to think about Gone with the Wind. If you hated Gone with the Wind, that's fine. If you love it, that's fine. Like, I just really want to explain my experience of it, especially pre and before Booktube and after Booktube. So I also have some reviews linked down below. All of them have very different perspectives, and I think and also the comment sections of all of these videos are fantastic. So there's one from Melina Pendulum, which is from about a year ago. Rick McDonnell did a review of Gone with the Wind about 2 years ago, and Brian from Bookish, who absolutely hated the book, read it in September of 2021. So all of those are linked down below, and I really recommend, if you have read Gone with the Wind, to go and check out their videos, and again also look at the comment section, because there is a wide spectrum of thoughts about this book on Booktube. So again, I just really want to stress, like, I'm just here to share like my own experience with the book. I'm not going to review it. I will do my best not to spoil anything for anyone who somehow doesn't know what Gone with the Wind is about, or the story of Gone with the Wind. But and there are things in all of those three reviews that I agreed with and that I disagreed with. One in particular, there's a mention of how the Nazis felt about Gone with the Wind, that the Nazis really loved it and saw it as, like, you know, the end of the American Empire kind of thing. And I watched a documentary about Margaret Mitchell from Georgia Public Television online that said the Nazis banned Gone with the Wind and burned it because Scarlett O'Hara, the heroine or anti-heroine of this book, was against the war, was against the Civil War in America. So, okay, so the first time I read Gone with the Wind was in 2006, and I had been married for about 6 months, and I decided I would read this because my mother and my grandmother had been encouraging me for years to read Gone with the Wind. So I read it. I read it in a very rushed way. I don't think in 2006 I was a very critical reader. And I certainly, I mean, I really didn't have anyone to talk to about the book aside from my mom and my grandmother. But yeah, I was so sucked into the story of Gone with the Wind. I was supposed to be packing because we were moving to Missoula, Montana, and I was supposed to be packing, and I couldn't put this down. And so I ended up finishing the book before we moved. Yeah, so it was just a really kind of a strange time in my life, and like I said, I raced through this book. My edition is 1,000 pages, 1,037 pages long. So so then we fast forward to about 2018 when I start my Booktube channel. I talked about this book so many times in the early days of my channel when I had, you know, a handful of subscribers. Thank you if you're still here, by the way. Nobody said anything to me about Gone with the Wind. No one left any negative remarks. But one of the things that happens as your channel grows, yeah, like all of a sudden you start hearing things that maybe you hadn't heard before. And so I can't remember what video it was that I mentioned this in, but there was kind of a lively discussion in one part of the comment section. And Jen from Remembered Reads, which I want to thank Jen for saying this to me, she said, you know, like, yeah, like people don't want to read Gone with the Wind because like, so like, hey, like remember when my people owned your people and wasn't that fun? And I hadn't really thought of it that way. And so that prompted me to reach out to Steve Donahue. And I said, Steve, what's wrong with is Gone with the Wind? Like, what is the problem? And Steve was very kind and very helpful and really talked to me about how Margaret Mitchell romanticizes the South, that this is one of those books where there's kind of this, you know, gauzy haze and this idea of this, you know, idyllic sort of life, when in fact people are living, thousands and thousands of people are living under slavery. So that really got me thinking. And then when I did my series of Pulitzer videos in, I think it was June of this last year, I decided that I was going to reread this book before the next Pulitzer Prize was announced. So in the meantime, some other people reviewed the book, Brian among them, and I did not watch Brian's video when it first came out because I wanted to wait until after I had reread the book. But I did look in the notes of Brian's video, and he mentioned the fact that the KKK is in Gone with the Wind. And my heart sank and I felt sick to my stomach because I didn't remember anything about the KKK, a white supremacist group, being part of Gone with the Wind. Didn't remember it at all. For me, that first reading was really the love story that's in Gone with the Wind. It's a romance, and that was what I read the first time. And I willfully ignored all the other symbols and signs in the book. Sorry, I'm looking down at my notes here. So I decided I would read this and reread it, and I wanted to pay more attention. So So in my reread, what happened? Okay, a couple things. One is that I read it slower, and I read it much, much more critically than I had before. So this is the one time in my life where I've actually color-coded the sticky notes, and I'm hoping that you guys are going to be able to see them. I'll try to do some different things to fan it out because I do know that the colors get blended. So anytime that you see a blue sticky note is when the N word is used. So let me just see if I can flip through this so that you guys can kind of get an experience of that. Now, and the red ones are the KKK anytime. And that could be just like somebody saying, well, they're not a member of the KKK, right? And someone else saying, no, they're not a member. Like, so anytime the Klan was mentioned, I highlighted it. Now, as far as the N word goes, the other word that is used prolifically throughout this book that I did not use a sticky note on, is, and I apologize for saying this offensive word on my channel, is darky. And if I had put a sticky note next to every time the term darky is used, I would, I definitely would have run out of sticky notes, or we would have had to have 2 different colors or something like that, because both those words, the N word especially, I just was nauseous with by the time I got to the end of the book. The orange sticky notes, which you'll see are pretty prominent right at the beginning when we're at Tara and 12 Oaks, the big plantations. Those are racist comments. I'm trying to figure out the best way for you guys to be able to see these. The green and purple things are things that I found interesting about characters, or things that I thought were, interesting, whatever. They were more positive things. So that's my sticky note calculation. And so I really wanted to be able to look at the book and go, okay, like, is the N, how profusely is the N word used in this book? And this is the only way I could figure out how to do it, like how to visually represent how many times this is used, how many times is the KKK mentioned, how many times is there a racist remark, and racism not just against African Americans, but against poor white Americans, as well as there's even a racist remark about Scarlett's father, who's Irish, and it's just so unnecessary, so unnecessary. The Klan, I felt like, and again, those are the red markers. So I'll flip the book around, and because the Klan really isn't, it's more in the latter half of the book, but yeah, the Klan, like, I felt like Margaret Mitchell portrayed the Klan like they were a bunch of clowns. Like, it was even Scarlett, who was, pretty clueless about a lot of things. Scarlett thinks it's stupid. She thinks it's ridiculous. And she does not like it. The KKK does kill an African American in the book. And 2 of the KKK members die also, in addition to that. So it's just, yeah, it's a more complicated portrayal than just saying, like, Margaret Mitchell was pro KKK or something like that. Again, it doesn't say, I wish that she hadn't felt the need to include it in the book, but they look like fools in the book, I thought. So the things that I found the most horrifying, egregious, offensive in the book were the times that African Americans were compared to animals. And it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter if that's in somebody's thoughts or if somebody actually says that. Margaret Mitchell is a white woman writing this, and I found that so deeply offensive and troubling, and it just hurt my heart to read those things, that she was making these kind of comparisons about African Americans. The other thing that I really, really was bothered by in the second reading of Gone with the Wind is the complete willful ignorance of the main characters in this book, the fact that their lifestyle, their way of living that is gone with the wind, okay, that has been eradicated, has been erased, okay, their main way of living was only possible because of people picking cotton, because of slave labor, because they treated African Americans, as as less than human, as they're not their equal. They were not, they were so abused. And even there's remarks in here about like how, you know, some of the characters, even though they owned slaves, like they never hit them, or it doesn't matter. They were in slavery. They had no freedom. They had no rights. That doesn't matter. And I don't, there is so little mention of the actual slaves out in the field picking cotton. There is so little mention of them in a 1,000-page book, that I don't know if Margaret Mitchell understood that it was wrong and she just didn't want to touch on that in her book, or if she was also willfully ignorant about how this plantation lifestyle was able to sustain itself. I'd like to believe that she left it out because she knew it was wrong. But I don't know. But it is, all the characters, you have to understand, like, everyone is racist. Regardless of what they say. There's also a lot of class issues in Gone with the Wind. A lot of these blue sticky notes where the N-word is used come from the mouths of African American characters who did not want to be treated like the field hands were. They worked in the homes. They took care of the plantation owners, and they put dinner on the table and things like that. And they didn't want to be treated like the people who worked out in the field. However, it doesn't matter because it's coming from the voice of a white author. So the black characters are, yeah, like it doesn't matter. Even if they're saying the N-word, like it's still through the voice of Margaret Mitchell, right? And I got to the end of the book and I still feel like within this book is a really, really incredible story. And I'm so sad that Margaret Mitchell couldn't find a different way to tell the story that was in her, because buried in this book is a really phenomenal romance. And the reason why I think the romance is phenomenal is because it takes all of our ideas about what is romance and it flips them on their head. Like it completely turns things around. Things are backwards. Things are totally, all of the things that we think of when we think of a romance book are turned on their heads. And you know, as many reviewers of the book have said, Scarlett O'Hara she's vile. She is selfish, self-centered, vain, manipulative, thoughtless, so many things. So in addition to being racist, so many things. And yet somehow Margaret Mitchell manages to make us as readers, and I know I'm not the only one. I realize that there's a lot of people out there who don't feel that way. But you find yourself rooting for her. This woman who is so ignorant about the men in her life, who's so blind to things. Although I also want to say that the book starts out when Scarlett is 16 and ends when she's 28. And I tell you what, I sure as heck, nobody wants to anyway, but like I would not want a book about my 16-year-old self to my 28-year-old self. Well, for one thing, there's not 1,000 pages worth of plot in there, but I really wouldn't want that story told because I was pretty stupid at that point in my life. I was pretty blind to a lot of things. And I had to go through some things very different than Scarlett did, but but later in my life, you know. So it's this weird juggling act of, on one hand, I have this romance story that I find fascinating, and I love the way that it takes all romance novels and just, again, takes away what we expect to happen, what we think will happen, and just scatters them around. And on the other hand, we have a book that has a lot of racist words, racist ideas. Again, this glamorizing the South. You know, there is a lot. There is a lot in there that was just, it was painful on a reread, unfortunately. For me, it was painful because when I first read it, I really was just reading it for the love story, and I was not reading it. I was not paying attention to anything else that was going on in the book. Do I think that this book should be canceled? Do I think this book should be banned and pulled from shelves? No, I don't. What I do think is that when we read Gone with the Wind, we need to have a conversation. There needs to be thought and discussion about the problems in the book, as well as the things. One of the things I totally loved about this book is Scarlett's expressions. She says, "God's nightgown." I don't even know what that means. And the other one, you know, she's so greedy. She wants money in order to get back basically at everyone who's ever been mean to her, or, you know, treated her as less than she saw in her own eyes. And, you know, she says essentially that she wants to have enough money that she can tell everyone to, quote, go to Halifax, which I'm pretty sure Scarlett O'Hara did not know where Halifax was. But yeah, so there's some incredible characters in this book. Again, I'm not saying that they're not racist characters, but they have spirit. I think some of them represent the Old South, and some of them represent maybe what we would consider the South going forward after the Civil War, people who are willing to look ahead instead of keeping their face turned to the past. Although I'm not sure, again, like, I don't know. Is Margaret Mitchell one of those people? Was she looking forward or was she looking back? And that's just something we have to wrestle with in this book, I think. So I would love to hear from you in the comments section. If you've read Gone with the Wind, what you thought of it. Again, like, let's all respect each other's opinions, and it's just a complicated book, and yeah, so please be respectful down below in the comment section, and Booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will talk to you soon.